hot summer reading program.
Well, it's not so hot here. It was hot. It was hot and humid the last couple of days, and then today was a little bit overcast, well past noon. But it's warm now.
Well, but this is not a weather podcast. It's a book podcast.
It is a book podcast.
And this
nice segue.
This one's called Where Reasons End. I don't even have the book with me. I had
it on my Kindle. So it's Where Reasons End
by Yiyun Lee.
Mm-hmm.
Yiyun Lee. And what did you think?
I hated it.
You hated it.
So I want to start by saying apparently it's autobiographical, and so that's very sad. Apparently, the author's son committed suicide at 16, like the son that she refers to in the book. And so I want to acknowledge that I think she's trying to cope with her grief and all the unanswered questions, and she's just drowning. She's drowning in grief. And I think, these may have been journal entries and that somehow led to publication. However, I think they're not worthy of publication. Except that I suppose that she is already a published author, and so therefore they thought that would therefore be worthy because of her name value, perhaps. But I found it an exercise in just futility and distraction.
Well, it's a short one and very easy. It is a short book, and just totally just dialogue and memory and short back and forth between only two people, the mother, who's a writer and an immigrant, I guess, from China, and then the son who committed suicide. It's in high schoolish, but she speaks to him in her own mind. And they just go over stuff, brief, back and forth over 170 pages. And there's no real story. It's kind of journal entries. The chapters have names, but I was just moving along.
Are completely random as far as I can tell. There's no progression. Not only there's no plot. There's no plot in this story or this publication or this memoir, whatever it is. But there's no progression. It's just random thoughts where she's spinning her wheels always. And there's no... So here's what I think. First of all, I want to emphasize that I'm a writing teacher. So the purpose of writing, one of the purposes of writing is, of course, self-expression. But the expression should lead to understanding how you're thinking or how you're feeling. That's the reason why you write it down and not just mull it over and let it buzz through your brain. You write it down so you can name it and identify what you're feeling or what you're thinking or whatever. And that should lead to some clarity. We've got no clarity in this at all. There's a emphasis and a misfocus on grammar and etymology, which lead nowhere. I mean, not even studying the etymology or studying the grammar. It doesn't lead her to any clarity. It's just trivial. It's just more and more trivia. She's sidetracked by the mechanics of language rather than the meaning of language. She doesn't reach any revelation in her writing, which you should read. You should reach if you write. You should make your ideas, the writing process should make your ideas clearer to you. And then if you decide to publish something, that means you have a willingness and you have the ability to communicate to your reader what you're thinking or what you're feeling, either for expression, for sharing, for counsel, or for just whatever. But there's none of that either. This is not communicative. She never gets out of her head, because I mean, let's face it. She has these conversations with her son, but her son is gone. So the conversations take place inside her head. So I'm not I mean, there are distinct voices, but I don't understand the purpose of the voices or what the voices are supposed to convey, other than, scolding and snarkiness on the son's part, and on the mother's part, just changing the subject, or just let's spend some more time, let's talk about something else. Just the desire to recapture him now that he's gone.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, that's all true. Um, you a writer does some kind of research, collects all kinds of ideas, and then tries to condense it into character or arc or change, and then at the end you feel like you've gone somewhere. But
Or
uh,
learn something.
but yeah, this is kind of not that. This actually reminded me of when, say, I don't remember when, but we would have to go to plays, maybe local ones that were, maybe you got tickets, or Anna got tickets or something, and it would be a very stark, just like nothing on the stage, like glass or plastic cubes, and then people walk out wearing just like t-shirt, and like, or everyone wears black, and they're all just non-characters, non-faces, and they're interacting, and they're pantomiming, oh, look out the window, and someone lifts up something, look at that, it's snowing, and they touch, but then suddenly flare up to, no, oh, you would say that, wouldn't you? What do you mean? I thought we were past that. And so, you're in the audience, and I'm like, what in the hell is this? Why would, not only would I waste my time, why would anyone waste their time like
Mm.
with this? I mean,
Yeah.
at least give me something to look at. Like, you're gonna
Yeah.
make me sit in a chair and look at non-color, and just,
And pay money to do that.
yeah, and like absurd mood swings of, oh, this again? You still can't get over the parakeet. It's like, well, it was my grandmother's favorite toy, and you're like, what? What the fuck? And
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
but this one, maybe I'm older or something, but I'm like, okay, let's say that play is like experiential, where you're just like, a writer's like, I got this on, just never ending in my mind, and I have to just get it out, and
Hmm.
someone's willing to produce it. These people are willing to act it out, and I'm just going to throw it up there. And
Hmm.
some people are just like, oh, this, I exactly have this same feeling, and they're like, I don't care who they are, I don't know where they are, but just like pent up, um very high emotion here, and then loneliness there, and like, yeah, I don't, uh, when I was younger and watching a play, it's like, okay, this should be better. But in a book, it is kind of that. You have kind of a cloudy sun who is not angelic, or, and not tangible, and kind of like, she writes him out as this, like, kind of a genius kid who kind of schools her on writing and criticizes her on writing, and that's where they find common dialogue or something, he constantly critiques words she chooses, but also she doesn't, like, bristle or push back at all. She just accepts. And so it's like, you've got this cloudy, uh, smoky sun who's just ethereal and intangible, but like more sharp and more critical and more intelligent than a normal kid. And then you got the mother who's overly like numb and overly accepting. So it made me think like the son is kind of like not only the kid but also just everyone ever who could have been disappointed in her, and she just is accepting but and just doesn't really think anything or feel anything. She's like, "Oh, that could be true. Yeah, that's something. Yeah, maybe yeah, maybe." So it's almost like it was like in the end I was like more on board with this, but I kept thinking about that style of play where it's not linear, it's not developmental, it's just like pure like experiential, like this happens sometimes to people, and here it is. Here's one case.
I think I think you hit on something when you said she's numb. And I think that's insightful, and I think that that's absolutely true. And I don't think that the scolding and the snarkiness of her son, I mean, maybe he talked like that in life. Maybe he was kind of, smart ass as teenagers can be. But I think it's the expression of her own lack of confidence in two areas. In one area, in the language, and understanding the culture, because she is an immigrant and she's a writer and she's writing in her second language. So she's obviously and, understandably not lacking confidence, but also as a mother, she feels this failure. Where did she fail that her son would commit suicide? Why couldn't she save him? Why, she feels her failure as a mother. I don't think it's anybody else. I think these voices are in her head, and he is scolding her. Actually, she's scolding herself.
Yeah.
They may have discussed language. That may have been how they interacted on this kind of trivial stuff. But what I thought of when I read this book was that picture, the scream. That's what she's doing. She's just expressing whatever comes into her mind in this grief, these little memories that she has of her son, maybe how we used to talk about grammar, maybe how we used to talk about words, because he was her guidepost, sort of, as far as the language is concerned. And she lacks confidence in her own skills as, a wordsmith. And she lacks confidence in her power she lacks confidence in her skill as a mother because her own son committed suicide. I understand that completely. And so I find these conversations very distracting and, a device that's very, very clumsy. If she's trying to express her own sadness and the inadequacy of words, and she can't put her finger on what she's doing, it's not an intellectual process that she's going through. It's strictly emotional. She's grieving. She's sad. So I find these conversations artificial and trivial.
Yeah. It makes me think also people say that when like um let's say I read like maybe on Reddit someone wrote how my wife has been in the hospital for 3 months and they don't know what it is, and now
Mm-hmm.
when I'm at home it's just like empty, and
Mm-hmm.
you just see things like a shoe sideways, and oh, she would always like pick that up, or she would hate when the towel would be like dripping or something,
Mm-hmm.
and the person writes like I can't imagine. Right now she's in the hospital, she's supposed to come back, but I just can't help but have flash forwards of like, this is my life, just remembering the the conflicts or the friction points as like the best,
Mm-hmm.
the good parts.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was, he was, and people do say that too, like that Goodwill Hunting, when Robin Williams says how his wife had cancer, and she like, um when you the secret arguments or things that nobody else knows is like the best things. So I think, yeah, I think that the boy in the book is very, yeah, snarky, and like condescending and overcritical because he was like that as a teenager, and maybe she's magnifying it. But also, I think again, like the wispy, cloudy nature of the kid makes me think how she's trying to like run into like a hard edge, like just it not it would kind of make not, it wouldn't really make sense if it was just like kind and friendly. Oh, remember this, remember that, and like ha ha ha, we're laughing together. It's kind of that would even if it was real, even if he was like a nice boy, it would be kind of like grasping at like air. So
Mm-hmm.
it's I kept thinking that when he kept punching back or hitting with these hard edges, that is tangible.
Mm-hmm.
And like and plus also she's it's kind of self flagellating, like
Mm-hmm.
beating herself up, like
Yes,
self
yes.
punishment. But but because it's kind of there's a numbness, she's like, yeah, I'll take anything. I'll take whatever. Um,
Yes. But I think we have to keep in mind that she's creating it. So when you say self-flagellation, that's exactly what it is. He was probably snarky as a teenager. He probably made fun of her accent. He probably, he had his finger on the pulse of slang and all that kind of stuff. So he was current and more undoubtedly more conversant in the culture and all that kind of thing. So sure, of course. But she's, about three-quarters of the way through, I thought, wait a minute. This guy, I said, first of all, if you're going to have memories of your son, why is he such a scold and why is he so snarky? And I think you're right that he's the hard edge that, she's confronted with. It's not all rainbows and, unicorns. He's dead and he committed suicide. And that's a horrible thing to have to face. And so, yes, his voice is going to be snarky and a hard edge and rather negative. But but at the same time, she created it. So it's all her own guilt and lack of confidence and that kind of thing. I think that you're giving her a broad benefit of the doubt, and that's kindness in you. And I think I'm less kind and a little bit more critical. Um, if it were billed as a memoir and an exercise in grief or something like that, then I might understand it better or I might be more forgiving of it. But because it is, I felt a kind of hoodwinked as I was reading through it, and I suddenly said, "Wait a minute! All this kid is saying is coming from her, so she's doing this to herself. Okay, then I guess it's an expression of her own lack of confidence and sadness." And so I felt kind of flim-flammed, sort of, by this book, and the fact that it didn't progress, that we don't learn anything. She doesn't have any revelation. The reader doesn't have any revelation. We don't even know how he died or why he died. Maybe she doesn't either. But they never have any serious conversations about anything. It's all very trivial. It's all very focused on the mechanics, the etymology of words, and the grammar of the language putting together, rather than communicating what you mean by using the grammar and by using the precise word that you want. And she can't get there. She's not there yet. She published too soon. Maybe there's another, part two where she reaches some kind of accommodation with his suicide and she has a clearer idea of her understanding in it.
well, I thought there was a breakthrough in like a single phrase, like right at the last chapter. But but another thing about again talking about how the boy is, you sympathize, but she really she does a lot of work to help you kind of not sympathize with this kind of mean kid. Is that
Mm-hmm.
he he's a teenager, he's just constantly like, I know more than you, I know more than you, which you could say is a type of innocence, where the
Mm-hmm.
teenager just is like, I know everything going on, I know everybody works, I got it all figured out. and parents have to be like, yeah. And she's the other end. She's like, I know way more than a human should like have to know.
Mm-hmm.
And so you could, I was thinking she is kind of cradling the last type of innocence that he had, even though it's annoying. We're annoyed to have to hear it, and she's just like, I'm not bothered at all because
No, she's not. You're right.
she's
Yeah.
like, I know more, and this is expertise that no one would even want.
Mm-hmm.
So
You're right about that. See, and
I'm
that's part of you giving her the benefit of the doubt and being more understanding.
well,
Because
and then about
I could go ahead.
well about that benefit of the doubt. The thing that's good is that she doesn't waste any time. Like there's not a moment of like, I remember one time we lived in Los Angeles on the corner of this and this, and it was the summer of that, and then we went to go to this, and I'm like, I don't. Yeah, you don't need all that. You literally
Mm-mm.
she's like, I don't care about that. We used to go to a bakery and we looked in the window, and like that's enough. Like she really just moves along. It just
Yeah, that's true. I think you hit on something also when you said she recognizes, and a mother does. So she recognizes that what he says or how he baits her and how he argues with her is a way, I'll say two things. I'll say like five things. Okay. So, first of all, yes, you're absolutely right. He's an arrogant little teenager. He thinks he knows everything. He definitely knows more than his mother, even though she's a published author, because she's not a native speaker. And that's all part of his personality. Number two, when he starts getting a little too angry or a little baiting her a little bit too much, she changes the subject. Or, okay, well, then let's talk about this. Or, oh, okay, yeah, she does not argue back with him. She allows him to spout in order to spend more time with him, in order to bask in the memory of him longer. She'll just change the subject because she's wiser and smarter, and as you said, she has this knowledge that nobody would want. The other thing is, at least he talks to her. 9 times out of 10, teenage boys just clam up. They don't talk to their mothers at all. So that's something she can cherish, that they did have conversations, even if they were a little bit adversarial or they were a little bit snarky. She treasures that because that's important to a mother, that this son would talk to her and talk to her about something she's interested in. She's interested in etymology. She's interested in grammar and writing and language. And so that's something that they did share.
yeah. Let me tell you three things. No, when you said that, sounded like Polly on The Sopranos. I'm gonna tell you five things.
I know, because I always say, I want to say one thing, and then I always go to like five things because I was really disappointed in this book, and I have some experience in this area, and I was very, um, I was really upset. I was angry at the fact that I felt, as I said, hoodwinked by this gimmick of having these conversations with her son. And I was trying to understand where she's going with this. Why did she make him so snarky? Why is he angry? Okay, I get it. He's angry at her because she failed him as a mother. And it's her own voice reflecting back to her, telling her she failed him. And she's just not able to focus on the depth. She's still feeling. She's not intellectualized at all. She's still feeling the sadness and the loss. So I understand that too, but it's just no form. This has an imposed form and an imposed triviality to it, an artificiality to it that made me angry, I have to say.
Well, this is like, I would say that at least now with our technology or level of understanding, it's just not possible to intellectualize like there's so many dimensions that people try to reduce or analyze. What is it? Okay, we've got DNA, we're designed to survive, but we're also prone to extreme, escape from stress that's too much. And but we're also in an age when um, we're in a romantic age when individualism and your identity is so important. You don't just go with the clan and serve your purpose. You're it's thrust on you younger and younger due to social media or having certain identities thrown in your face, like who are you.
Mm.
Then we got groundbreaking research on the chemistry of the brain, where some people have a heightened levels of chemicals that increase that stress or that urge to escape. Then you've got the timing or the access to certain guns or suicide methods. Then you got so it's just like it's like 50 dimensions that all is it's like it's the cancer thing is hard to wrap your mind around. Okay, you got
Mm-hmm.
there's four types of cancer. There's the type that moves around, the type that multiplies too fast, the type that lives too long, and the type that whatever. And we don't know. Some make it happen like smoking. Some carcinogens make it happen more. Some people never get it from having carcinogens. Some people get it just from random mutations. Kids get it. We don't know. So do
Mm-hmm.
we have to intellectualize how does it happen? How do we prevent it? And then how do we stop it? And which one's most important? And people don't want to hear how it takes a long time or it's still a gamble and your survivor rate is 5 years or 1 year. Like that's good, but also not good to hear. And this is like a million times worse. I think
Mm-hmm.
suicide. It makes like no sense.
Mm-hmm.
How like it's like trying to guess where a raindrop will like fall and be like, okay, why
Mm.
did that happen there? It's like, man, I
Yeah.
don't who knows? It's just and
Right, right. And the whole immigrant story too, comes here for a better life, presumably, and then this result. And as the parent, she's the provider, she's the mother, the nurturer, all of that, all of it's wrapped up in her. It's always the mother's fault. So of course she feels guilt, and you're right. It is inconceivable. It's an inconceivable tragedy, and that's exactly what it is. I don't know if I exactly expressed the right word when I said intellectualize, but just even coming to terms with this. You eventually run out of emotion and eventually have to you cannot sustain that energy for that long. You have to sort of try to make sense of things or come to terms with things. That's what I mean by intellectualizing. And that's what the process of writing, you know, theoretically should help you do. And she's just not there. She's just not there yet. She
well,
can't be.
I thought it was so it's as the chapters go on, it gets closer and closer to like, you know, so where are you or are you still suffering? And then they eventually it shifts from where in the beginning the kid has her on the back foot, like he's like attacking her, poking her at words. Then it kind of flips to where she's asking him like, well, are you still you know burdened? And he's like, do you mean burdened by this, like trying to play word games? And she's like, yes. And then eventually the kid starts giving more real answers, like, well, no, I'm not, so don't worry about that, because I'm not anywhere, and it's good or something. She starts giving like rationalized instead the word games kind of fall away.
And more calming, more calming.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
what and it happened at like just the right time, because I'm reading it and I'm like, I'm reading it and I'm not even like, I didn't take any notes or anything, and it's all happening like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, in front of my face, just like that play, the Stark play, where like this is just happening. This is just like I'm just watching this, and I was letting my mind think of other things too, and not caring to go back because yeah, I did think this is like a pretty significant work. So I had the opposite feeling you had, that This is not just a. I read that. That's done. I thought it was like yeah, lyrical with the shifts from just topic to topic or place to place or time to time. It didn't, and yeah, it didn't uh, lag or drag on. It was yeah, it was like it was just like cleanish.
Hmm.
But then
Okay,
it,
well, this is why we do this, Joe, because you always have such interesting insights, and they're different from mine. This is exactly great. This is wonderful.
but then the real thing happened where she says the kid says in the last chapter like yeah, well now you're writing about me and I'm not even real anymore. Like I am fiction. I've become your fiction. And I thought like, oh, that's now that's something that is interesting because we think about death that when you die you go somewhere. Your fully formed version goes somewhere else and you'll meet them again. But or you say things, oh, the person lives on in our hearts or in our memories and things like that. And then she says, no, I'm around, but I'm fiction. And from a writer, it's like, well, yeah, my of course my fiction is real. It became kind of Socratic. Like fiction is real to me. My characters are real. So if you're fiction, then you're real, and that means you're still here. By that like logic, the phrase in the book had this like locked in uh syllogistic way of like, yeah, I'm fiction and fiction's real because you're a writer, so that means I'm real still. And it was a odd yeah, that was the main like crux that I think it's all about. And plus the thing is
Okay.
that she's writing with whatever pens and pencils or with documents, but
Hmm.
we're even like on the cusp of what even is real. Like I can listen to these podcasts in like like 30 years and it'll still be like real. And or people where there's recordings of everything and there's AI versions of people. Like it's like we're like close to a stage where the the ethereal dialogue of the mother and the son in her own mind. If we met a person like that, it would be tragic. A person who has a bedroom all kept the same, or who has these are all his trophies, and like, oh yeah, you should get yeah, that's too bad. You're frozen in this this life. You're like trapped. But when it's in a book and it's just in her mind, we're like, oh, that's not as bad as having like a mausoleum in your house. That's like, oh, that
Hmm.
we can all see that's not good, or that's our
Hmm.
reaction. If that type of character is on a show, we're like, oh. But when so she wrote this whole book, and then she's trapped in her mind with this. But once she said that phrase that yeah, I've become fiction, and I thought, oh, we're all like, are we all not dabbling with that as well? Like we're all going to be preserved.
Creating our own reality,
Yeah,
creating.
like I could. My Facebook is so long. I could like look back at myself and and create like, or there are people who have recorded themselves so many times across like 10 years they could dialogue with themselves.
Hmm.
Even though that person is long gone. So it's almost like, oh, this is not about religion or spiritualness. It's about yeah, who who is to say what is fiction or real, and we're getting closer and closer. So that was
Oh wow. Well, wow, that's a ramification that I never entertained at all. So that's, yeah, okay. That's more than I saw here. I just saw her as trying to work through to have some expression of this grief, because it wells up, and of course she's a writer, so of course she'll write. And But I didn't think about that. I didn't see that. You saw it. That's because you're a kind person, Joe. That's why.
Well,
You're a
it
kind
was
person and you're try to understand people.
well this one had the same feeling. I thought this is a pro. This is a pro. Like I didn't think this was like amateur hour. It's impressive that she English is not her first language, and she's
Hmm.
very like successful. And this one too, when I finished it, I read all the reviews. They were like, "This is a profound work. This is truly a monumental document," or just words like devastating. Like my book was
Yeah, but
covered with, and after I finished it, I was trying to like, I was picturing those people in the audience who just like, I know exactly this. Where yeah, every person must have that where they have to force it, or from our culture we're forced to think, oh yeah, we pray, we light a candle, like all these traditions that represent heavenly, but this book is purely like cerebral. I'm going to have just a mental dialogue with this person who I know, and it's not strange. And we in oppositely, you're like following along. And
mm,
I think that's where all the reviews are like, yes, I totally get this.
Joe, I don't understand how your main thing is to feel secure in the arms of a writer, right? Like I'm in good hands. Excuse me to say that. I'm in good hands. But yet, Cormac McCarthy and right? Cormac McCarthy, what did we read? That
Yeah,
horrible,
the
violent thing,
blood meridian.
the bloodlust thing. I this that's kind of from the reader's point of view how I see this. They say that's an epic tome. People say this is so everything is there. I think they're reading into it or they're trying to find it spoke to you and that's great and I don't want to belittle that and I think that if she did that then she's successful. But it's sort of like what it struck me as like that Paulo Coelho, The Alchemist book. I mean, I read that. I think that's a fraud. I think people can see in that anything they want to see in it. And if they read into it or give them too much of the benefit of the doubt, then they're forming the book rather than the author forming the book. So I'm surprised that your response is so opposite to mine, because I didn't feel like I was in the hands of a good writer here at all, but you did. So that's good. I
Uh,
mean, that's great.
yeah, it's because well, this one is not a pop culture phenomenon. Yeah, like I think that The Alchemist had like a huge, you know, just a explosion of this is a good book. And yeah, that Blood Meridian was just, people hold it up as being so significant, but they always point to because it's so violent. It's like people say that Game of Thrones is this like master best series ever, and I'm like, it's just like sexified violent pseudo history. Like it's because you
Mm-hmm.
you feel like you feel like you're learning because
Mm-hmm.
it's British people talking about
Mm-hmm.
something that seems historical. So
Yeah.
that's my main comment. And Blood Meridian is the same thing. You feel like
Yeah.
I'm reading a book, and this is it's fake history, so it feels like learning, but also you're intrigued by the pornography of super crazy violence. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, that's fine, but don't say it's like
Literature
high literature or
or
something like that.
yeah.
But yeah, this I think just the efficiency.
Mm-hmm.
There was no time where I was just like, okay, get on. Like, okay, we don't need this. It was never. It was like, yeah, it was never. You're left with this mystery. Um, and yeah, just the pace kept going, and so and yeah, I also just let my mind wander while I was reading it. I just never really went back, and so yeah, it was like that play, I keep going back to that. That yeah, as you're watching a play, you might miss what's happening in front of you because your mind thinks about something else, but that might be the goal of the
Yeah.
writer. Or
Yeah.
yeah, you're supposed to just think of other
Evoke a
things.
response in you. Sure, that's okay. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah,
And
I didn't see the epiphany. I didn't have an epiphany with this. I thought this I was shocked when I turned the last page and that's it. It's over. It just ended. It didn't really finish. It just stopped. And I found that also be a letdown. I also found the initial poem to be very opaque. I didn't understand what that poem was about, although I think that she tried to use some of the ideas and images that were in the poem. I mean, I could identify that as I was reading. She was talking about time and distance causing the separation, and those are two ways of thinking of separation or disconnection. But I didn't. I don't. I think the poem spoke to her, and I think she was trying to work through her grief with this book. But I didn't receive the same satisfaction that you did.
I also think that there's another part of just like courage that the efficiency and yeah the stigma that she's like yeah I'm not gonna explain like myself or
Mm-hmm.
things too much like
Mm-hmm.
and yeah it goes to my own students who just they want to write something they have to like explain so much and like that's just the natural way like, longer is better or it's
Mm-hmm.
just like this is what writing is it's long it's giant blocks of text and she's like no I don't care about that and I'm not even gonna put quotation marks it's just I said
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
said and eventually you're saying like well who said that and you're like it doesn't even matter
No.
because it's just one it's she's talking to herself.
She's talking to herself. And they are like snapshots. They are like each chapter is like a snapshot, a different sort of conversation or whatever occurred to her or whatever the business was that they decided to discuss or she decided to go over or whatever triggered, a memory or whatever it was that led to covering this particular topic in this particular chapter. I think I think you're more generous than I in this regard, and I think that that's just fine. That's wonderful. I think that's good. That's why we do this, so that I read books. I would never have read this, if you hadn't suggested it. So that's all good.
Yeah, and think it's I don't even really know if it's like successful or anything, but it does seem like just an attempt to sort out something and
Mm-hmm.
but like yeah again I would say even that playwright who throws up a hyper drama in front like everybody should watch this it's kind of self indulgent to do all this production into something like that but this is again not very just simple just like I'm going to write this text and I think it's good and she clearly got people on board like
Mm-hmm.
this is a major work we need to publish this and then
Mm-hmm.
penguin who's I don't know like the best or the
It's the
the
most academic. It's
the
just academic.
yeah the Harvard of books is like we're gonna pick this up
Okay.
so
Yeah.
I'm like okay someone I, I don't know exactly what's going on I don't want to know I hope I never know what's going on
Mm-hmm.
completely but I there's enough weight and like stamps of approval that I'm like, I think this is a good one that I'm gonna hold on to, or
Okay.
but also I can't really even comment on it. But I,
But you did. You did.
I was into it.
And you did comment on it, and you did so brilliantly. I think it was great. Yeah.
Well, so that is that one for the books.
One for the books and such a disparity of experience again. I mean, we often have that, right? And I'm, you know, when we started this, whenever that was, like 2 or 3 years ago now, you were always, by the way, I want to point this out, you were always snarky in your it occurred to me, it appeared to me, it seemed to me that in the early days you were always pretty snarky, and I was always, now wait a minute, let's look at this from a literary point of view, and there's always something to pull out of there, and we've sort of switched roles here
Hmm.
more recently.
Well, yeah.
Of course, it depends on the book. So next time, I've made my choice. I've made choices, so you can choose two. You can choose among these two books, and I think I have my preference. One is American Sphinx, which is a not a biography, but an analysis of Thomas Jefferson's political career. Starts at the Declaration of Independence, and it's about his politics, right? Or his, not his life necessarily, but him as a politician. That's one choice, and that is fairly thick. Or this one, which is the biography, and John Meacham, Thomas Jefferson, The Art of Power. This is a true biography. Most of it, of course, focuses on his political career. And I have to say, one-third of it is acknowledgments and notes. So it's not as long as it looks. The acknowledgments and notes start very early. So either one of these, if you want to focus on, I mean, I'm trying to come to terms with this guy. I don't, I kind of understand him, I think, but I want to do a bit of a deeper dive. I watched a documentary on him. I think it was on Netflix. I can't remember. And it made me more interested. And this John Meacham, who wrote the heavy biography, was one of the speakers in the narrative. So, do you want to do the biography? Pulitzer Prize winner John Meacham, Thomas Jefferson, The Art of Power, or The American Sphinx, which says a lot right there in the title.
Well, that Meacham, he's pretty famous. He's the guy who he talks like, well, and then we went, and he has that, sounds like John Wayne or something, or some.
Oh,
actor.
really?
He's really flat.
Oh.
Yeah, when he has interviews. But
well, they did interview him for the documentary that I watched on Netflix. Do you want to do this one then?
I want to do the Sphinx one.
Okay. I'm going to read them both eventually, but we can read and talk about the Sphinx. This is The American Sphinx, the character of Thomas Jefferson, and it's by Joseph J. Ellis.
And that has an award, National Book Award.
National Book Award winner, yeah. They're both good. I mean, when I looked up who wrote the best biographies of Thomas Jefferson, these two came up. And then I happened to go into a used bookstore, and they were both there, so I bought them both.
Oh, I wish I could go to a used bookstore. That would be good. Okay, yeah, I want to read that.
Okay, so for next time, Thomas Jefferson is on. And by the way, Margie told me that Thomas is named for Thomas Jefferson. She's glad when I'm reading about Thomas Jefferson. She said that's who Thomas is named after.
Wow, I didn't know that.
I didn't know that. Okay, until next time.
All right, we'll catch you on the next pod.
Catch you in the next pod.